welcome to your next session. And today I'm going to start us off with a reading from Original Yoga by Richard Rosen. And the reason I've chosen this is we're going to actually do a posture out of that, sorry, that's my chair I have here, out of this book, which encompasses what are considered the few postures that were actually considered to be the original asanas. So for today, I will read that, but you will also need, if you want to gather a block and a chair or somewhere that you can lean on to put your elbows on, that will let your back be parallel. So we'll be on our knees, and you want to have your back like in a tabletop position, so your elbows are on here. And then you'll need your pillow or blanket or whatever it is you use to do your squat with, okay? And then this session in your manual, you will see, provides you the third and final step in the Kumbhaka, or the Prāṇãyāma practice that is outlined in there for you. So either, you can do that before. If you haven't done that yet, you can pause the video, excuse me, and do that now. Or you can come back to it at the end, whichever makes the most sense for you. Yes. So here is the reading. He says, for the most part, these benefits won't be the usual accolades we read in modern books. He's talking about that which he outlines in this book. We read in modern books, and some will seem downright strange. So he's referring again to the original asana. Generally, the traditional benefits of asana are steadiness, health, and lightness produced in the body. And this is according to the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is a text outlining about the practices of Hatha Yoga. He says, in the body, that we may assume is mirrored in consciousness. So again, he says that the steadiness, health, and lightness produced in the body that we may assume is mirrored in consciousness. Gurandana tells us that asana brings success in the world of mortals, though he doesn't define what he means by success. Hatha tattva kaumundo, it's another practice, makes the point that the benefits of asana can't be achieved by asana alone, that for it to be effective, it must be practiced within the context of other traditional limbs. Sundradeva writes, quote, a yogi who is well balanced can alleviate the chronic and incurable diseases and toxicity through the practice of yama, niyama, and asana. So that kind of ties together yet someone else pointing to what it is that's all included in this course, the root of the lotus. So today, like I said, we're going to start here with trying to come into a tabletop position with our upper body. We're going to put the block between our hands, and then we're going to try to drop our head down. Now, for those of you who have a tight upper body, like myself, this will be a good stretch. But really what we're doing as well is we're feeling our scapula, those flat bones on the upper part of our back. We're feeling how we engage them onto our back, while at the same time they create an expansive openness in the back. So they're engaged but open. Good. And then you can gently release. You can hear those little bell sounds as I move the chair out of the way. And so what I want you to take with you is that feeling that you just had when you put your elbows on the chair and squeezed, and that sensation it provided on the back of the shoulder blades kind of coming down in, but also slightly opened. Try to bring that with you through your asana practice here today. All right, so from there, go ahead and just come into downward dog with that awareness. So before I go, I kind of draw my shoulders, my arms up into my shoulder sockets. I feel my scapula firm on my back. I'm not squeezing them into the center, but they're on there. They're not like loose and off. This protects my shoulders and my arms. And then I press into downward dog. Good. So that's your job, to have that awareness. And then bring the right foot through. Keep the hand on the ground. Exhale, come into a twist. So maybe the way in which that's engaged is part of your new awareness that you're keeping aware of in your body. Maybe it's not, but maybe there's something about it that you could engage differently that would make it new. Exhale here into a little back bend, taking the hands down, step back into downward dog, and then we're just going to do a little core by pulling our knee forward towards our chin, and then pressing back, other side. Good, and then if you're a vinyasa kind of person, you could inhale into a plank. This is the variation, dropping the knees first, rolling the shoulder blades onto the back, and then exhale, pressing over the back. Okay, let's bring the left foot forward. Keep the hand on the ground, exhale, twist. Release the hand, drop the knee, and just take a gentle back bend. Good, release the hand, step back into down dog. Again, drawing the knee towards the chin, exhale, take it back, knee to chin, exhale, take it back. And then you can flow through if you want. The other variation is here. And then dropping so that the chin reaches the ground first. And then the rest releases. Good. And then walking the feet towards the hands, coming into a forward fold here. Make sure the knees stay slightly bent. Here, you don't want to lock out the knees. Okay. Good, inhale, rise all the way up. Turning back here, I'm going to inhale up, exhale, fold forward. Step back with that left foot, keep the right knee forward. We're going to twist again. This time the knee stays up. Drop the back knee. And coming into a dynamic stretch here. It's going to stretch that, you can see my hand, hip flexor. So it's okay to let the knee go beyond the ankle when you're stabilized here. Good, exhale the hands to the ground. Step back into downward dog, take a flow of vinyasa if you wish, or you can rest in child's pose, or you can stay in downward dog. Great, let's bring the left foot forward now. Keep the knee up, keep the hand on the ground, exhale, twist. Good, release the hand, release the knee, and then when you feel stabilized here, you can gently begin to draw that knee forward, again stretching the hip flexor. Release. Step back into down dog. Take a flow if you wish. Relax in down dog. Relax in child's pose. Your choice. So I won't mention all of those every time, but you can assume that's the case if I don't say otherwise. And then we're going to walk the feet towards the hands from wherever you are. Hanging here for a moment. Maybe grabbing opposite elbows this time. To create a bit more weightedness, keep a slight bend in the knee. Good, and then just a gentle rolling up bit by bit. Great, so we're going to do a little balance pose. So as I've mentioned at other times, if you've taken class with me, is you always want to have a focal point when you're doing a balance pose. You don't want to be watching something that's moving, okay? So we're going to find the three parts of our foot, the pinky toe mound, the big toe mound, and then the center of the back heel. here, and then the foot can either rest right by the ankle, it could rest on the inner shin, or it can rest on the inner thigh. The key is not to have it on the knee, okay? And then I'm just doing a gentle press of my leg into this other leg to create a balance and synergy in the center of my body. It helps activate my balance. And then you're going to take that focal point. Inhale, take the arms up. And this may be your balancing point, okay? You could drop the hand on the same side as the bent knee, and then very slowly begin to take a little bend over towards that knee. And then when you're ready, you gently come up and release the leg. So you could pause that and try again on that same side a couple times if you wish to really practice and integrate that posture. We're going to go to the other side. So shin option, calf option, or thigh option. This knee stays slightly soft, that standing knee. And then when you're ready, if you want to, you can change the position. There's no need to. As long as you're getting a balance workout, that's all that matters. This is just an add-on. And then when you need to come out, just release it with grace. You can stay a little bit longer. I unfortunately watched something that was moving, and that brought me out. But the key thing is the dismount is with a sense of grace and ease, both inward and outward. Maybe that's something you're learning about yourself. Maybe you tend to hold on and need to have it be a perfect certain way, perfect. So that's something to learn about yourself and to recognize that, can you smile? So can you go from here and have it come out and still smile about it and not get frustrated that it wasn't a certain way. All right, we're going to inhale, then we're going to take a forward fold here. You want to make sure you have your squat pillow blanket nearby. We're going to take a forward fold with the wide legs. Walk the fingers over towards the right ankle, right shin, right foot. Inhale back to center, and then on an exhale, take it the other direction. Good, inhale back to center. Now go ahead and bend the knees, trying to bring the thighs semi-parallel to the ground. Hands come on the top of the thighs at the base by the knee. And then on an exhale, you're going to turn and drop one shoulder into the center, getting a twist. You inhale to come out. You exhale to go to the other side. Do that 2 more times on each side. And then keep your pillow nearby. We're going to do one more thing, and then we're going to come into our squat. So I'm just going to bring my feet in a little bit closer. And then I'm going to come down almost into a squat. I'm going to press the outer edge of my upper arm into the inside of my upper thigh. So I'm just pressing out with my arms as I press in with my thighs. And that creates a little experience in my hips, a stretch and a strengthen of the legs at the same time, and then release and find your way into your squat. When we come into squats here, you can always close your eyes or lower your gaze. Reconnect with your breath if it should be lost. Or I shouldn't say lost, but your awareness of it is lost. Here I'm still pressing a little bit with my legs and pressing a little bit with my arms. And then gently release yourself to the ground. We're going to extend our legs out in front of us for Paschimottanasana. So, a couple tips on doing forward folds. One is the engagement of the legs into the trunk of the body. So what I do sometimes, if I feel very disconnected, especially in my hip section here, is that I will grab the flesh of my thigh and I will turn the flesh inward towards the center of the body, and then at the same time pull the bone, the femur bone, which has a big head on it, up into the hip socket on both sides. So that helps with engagement. It also helps the stretch. So in a forward fold, Paschimottanasana, there's a couple aspects to be thinking about. The first is the reaching through the top of the head, all right? We want to avoid a curling of the back here. Right, so it's reaching up. I tend to have hunched shoulders, so I also have an awareness of that engagement that we did in the beginning of the class with the shoulder blades flush on the back. The other way to engage and to think about through this posture is as this goes down, as this goes up, I'm also rooting down in the opposite direction. So there's energy going both ways on the spine. And then the final way is out through my feet. So I'm feeling the energy press out through the feet, though the hips are engaged. And then that helps me get into the stretch a little bit more. I pause when I feel the stretch working. I'm not going to push it beyond. I just come to the very edge of the stretch before the muscles start to contract and counter what I'm trying to accomplish. And maybe at some point as you hold the posture, there's an easing off of that tension and you find that you can go maybe a little bit deeper, and then you feel that point again where you can, the muscles are going on here. We don't want to keep them in an aggravated state. You can always back off a little bit, and then finally we come all the way up. Alright, so we're going to do a little back bend. So come to lying on your back with your knees bent for Dhanurasana. So feet are going to be about hip width apart. They're going to be just a ways from the butt cheeks, so they're not right up against the butt cheeks, but they're not way far away. They want to be in a place where they feel like when you press into them, you feel like you have some power. I rock side to side to tuck my shoulder blades under my back. I like to bend my elbows and point my fingertips to the sky. That helps me get that shoulder engagement. And then I press through the elbows to first just lift from my hips to my shoulders, so I get a nice little curve, what you could call it the mini rainbow. So we have that mini rainbow here. And then once that feels engaged, then I press more into the feet to help lift the pelvis and come up into that bigger arch, or the big rainbow if you want to call it that. Your hands can keep pressing down as a reminder how to keep your shoulder blades engaged. You could also straighten your arms out and interlock them underneath, your fingers underneath your body. Please, when you're in a posture where there's pressure on your head like this in the neck, please don't turn it side to side. If you need to pause and look at the video, please bring the pelvis down and alleviate that pressure on the back of the neck and head before you look to the side. Now you could take one leg up, holding that as long as you wish, or switching sides. Or you could do both legs, just kidding. And then one vertebrae at a time, starting at the shoulders, I'm going to lower my back down. So I'm giving my back a little counter stretch as I lower it back down. Good, and then if you give your knees a little hug, you can rock side to side if that works. I sometimes have these little tight spots on the outer edge of my hips, and this is when I can kind of put some pressure on them and massage them a little bit. Good, and then we're going to roll all the way to one side and press up into a seated position. Alright, so now we're going to do one final twist, and this is the twist that comes from the original asana book, original yoga book. So before we did a posture where our feet was sitting right next to our body, right? So this time what we're going to do is that inner heel is going to come right up into that space between our butt cheeks. So it's going to make our hips kind of go a little cattywampus like this. What that does is it stretches out the hip. Now, if you tend to have super tight back, really bad back pain, you have to be super cautious in this posture because it is starting to take the pelvic bone, which is kind of like a butterfly here, and it's kind of shifting it a little bit. So you just want to be really aware. Now, if you get here and you're not feeling much of a stretch, if you're feeling a stretch here, just stay here, please. Don't go beyond. But if you need a little bit more, like you're not really feeling much of anything, you could take a very, very, very gentle exhale and twist away from your feet. I'm still doing that action of pressing out through the top of my head and grounding down in towards my butt cheeks. Good, and then very slowly coming out. In between, I do what I call a little toe torture. So I tuck all of my toes under, including my little pinkies, and then I come to seated on my feet here. This is great for stretching out plantitis. Good, and then we're going to switch to the other side. So the inner heel again. And you might notice a difference on one side over the other. You might feel more of a stretch, and that kind of gives you an understanding about your body, how you tend to hold more tension or more stiffness in one side of your hip versus the other. So that's one thing you're learning about your body today. And again, if you need a little bit more, exhale very gently, very slowly into a little tiny twist. Key for this posture is you make sure that that heel is in between the two butt cheeks. It's not under one butt cheek, all right? It's really in between, so it's supporting the space between the two parts of the pelvis. And then gently coming out, and go ahead and find your way onto your back for your final Shavasana. If you get to lying on your back and you feel a little achiness in your lower back from that last posture, please hug your knees in. Do the rock up side to side. The other option is, instead of laying flat for Shavasana, you could take yourself to a wall or to a chair, put your legs up the wall, or put your thighs against the back of a chair or a couch and bend at the knees, placing the calves of your legs on the surface of the chair or the couch. As you settle in, just allow the jaw to soften, the tongue to soften, the eyes to soften in their sockets. Reconnect with that Kumbhaka breath. Making small movements with your fingers and toes. Movements that eventually assist you in rolling onto one side of the body. And as you lay on the side body, to consider, what have you learned from or about your body through this practice? So it was just a matter of curiosity, coming to understand of self. In the most somatic sense, maybe there's something mentally or otherwise that you've also come to realize about yourself. And then using your hands, gently press yourself up into a seated position with the eyes closed or focus softly on the ground. So just a reminder about Shavasana, that you could pause the video and set your timer for a full 5 minutes or more. At least 5 minutes would be optimal. And that lets your cells and your body really integrate the practice. I am doing an abbreviated Shavasana here, but you are always welcome to pause and extend it. Have a great day.